Bere'Shiyth, Genesis 38. And it came to pass at that time that Yahudah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adulami, whose name was Chira. And Yahudah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaani, whose name was Shuach. And he took her and went in unto her. And she conceived and bore a son, and he called as his name And she conceived again and bore a son, and she called at his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bore a son, and called at his name Shelach. And he was at Keziv when she bore him. And Yahudah took a woman for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Yahudah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah slew him. And Yahudah said unto Onan, Go in unto your brother's woman, and marry her, and raise up seed to your brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's woman, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased Yahuwah, wherefore he slew him also. Then said Yahudah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at your father's house, till Shelach my son be grown. For he said, Lest perchance he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And in the process of time, the daughter of Shuach, Yahudah's woman, died. And Yahudah was comforted, and went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnathah, he and his friend Chira, the Adulami. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, your father-in-law goes up to Timnah to shear sheep. And she put her widow's garments off of her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelach was grown, and she was not given unto him to be his woman. When Yahudah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and said, Go to, I pray you, let me come in unto you. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What will you give me, that you may come in unto me? And he said, I will send you a kid from the flock. And she said, Will you give me a pledge till you send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give you? And she said, Your signet, and your bracelets, and your staff that is in your hand. And he gave it to her, and he gave it her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away, and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Yahudah sent at the kid by the hand of his friend the Adulami, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand. But he found her not. Then he asked at the men of that place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, There was no harlot in this place. And he returned to Yahudah, and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said, that there was no harlot in this place. And Yahudah said, Let me take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and you have not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after, that it was told Yahudah, saying, Tamar your daughter-in-law has played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Yahudah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray you, whose are these, the signet, and bracelets, and staff. And Yahudah acknowledged them, and said, She has been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelach my son. And he knew her again no more. And it came to pass in the time of her travail, that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass, when she travailed, that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that, behold, his brother came out. And she said, How have you broken forth? This breach be upon you. Therefore his name was called Peretz. And afterward came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zadok.